everyone, I'm Allie Buchman with the Potomac Bead Company, and today I am going to do a bracelet for you featuring the Diamond Duo beads, which are a two-hole kind of diamond-shaped or marquise-shaped bead, flat on one side and then pressed to make them look like they have a little faceting on the other side. I'm going to call this the Queen of Diamonds since we're using the Diamond Duos to make the diamonding effect. In my example piece here of the Queen of Diamond, I did use the Diamond Duos and then round trios. To show that you can do it also with disc duos, I'll be using disc duos in the example that I make with you guys today. If you need any of the materials for this Queen of Diamonds bracelet, you can go to the left-hand side here. We'll do a little drop down that lists all the different materials. Then you can purchase them from me online or make a list to take to your local Potomac Bead Company store as well. When looking at the Queen of Diamonds, you can see that the Diamond Duo is the main feature of the bracelet. It's making a diamond here in that kind of lattice shape with the Diamond Duos. The brighter the Diamond Duo you use, the more it's going to stand out. Here in the example piece, I used the turquoise bronze Picasso of the Diamond Duo. For the one we're doing together, I'm going to use that coral bronze Picasso there. For the round trio that I used in the example, I used the vintage copper. I'm going to switch to a disc duo, like I said, in the example that we're making here together. For the example we're making together, I'm going to use the disc duo because the disc duo and the round trio are the same size. They're both that 6mm bead, and I'm using the zinc iris color to match up with my coral beads here that are going to give that nice contrast. I'm going to go with a brighter metallic look and go with the galvanized gold in the 11-0 seed bead, whereas in the piece here, I went with an 11-0 and a brown rainbow. Lastly, we're going to run down the sides and use that 11-0 kind of in the middle. And then on the very corners and the very tips of the project, you can either choose to use a 6-0 seed bead, or I'm using some of the Potomac crystals in a similar color to that coral. I'm using the garnet AB finish. Here in the example, I use that emerald AB to kind of pop and complete that diamonding effect. You can also use another Diamond Duo on the end, but then you'll have an exposed hole unless you kind of loop around. So I decided to just add a tiny hint of a crystal since it is rather wide of a bracelet. Holding the whole bracelet together will be a cup button, and this here is one of the Capri Gold cup buttons here that I'll be using at the very end, and holding it all together with some .006 wildfire beading thread in the green color. I like the green color and I use it a ton because it really does match with a lot of the designs and a lot of the beads that you're really not going to see the color at all when you're looking at it. Always handy, I have a needle nose pliers that helps me to flatten out the end of the beading thread so that way I can thread my needles. In size 10 or size 12 or 11 needles will work for this. We're not going back through a lot, we're just going back through each hole one time. So either size of those or any size of those needles in between will work. And then I have my Thread Zap 2 here. You can use a Thread Zap Ultra cord cutter, whatever works for you, but I really love the actual thread burner to make it easy to burn your thread, get it off your spool, flatten out those corners, and then also when you're done your project, kind of burn that off. To get started, we are going to start with our button here. You can put your crystals to the side and lay out little piles of all the rest of your beads so that way you can get ready to use them. I have 2 needles that I'll be working with and about 5 feet of beading thread to start. So to get started, again, we have our little pile of our beads, and we're going to start by going down the center row of our bracelet. Because we have the opportunity to put on the clasp first, because we have 2 needles, we're going to go ahead and do that. To put on the clasp, I'm going to add 3 of my 11-0 seed beads to my right hand needle. Then go through the cup button, 1 needle on the right hand side going through the bowl side and coming out the back side with the other needle going through the left. I'm going to pull my needles at the same time to make sure that drops down to the very base of my project. I also want to make sure whenever you're working with 2 needles, generally whatever you do with the right, you're also going to do with the left hand needle. So you want to make sure to have your thread even on each side. Coming out the bead here then, I'm going to add 3 more 11-0 seed beads on my right needle and 3 more on the left needle. And again, a lot of times when you're working, whatever you do on the left-hand side, you're also going to do on the right-hand side. I did also forget to mention that I am working on a bead on it board. You want a nice workable surface, makes it easy to pick up the beads and to work with them as well. For our next portion, we're going to be doing the same repetitive pattern right down the middle of the project. To start, I have one of my disc duos, and the disc duo, if you haven't worked with it before, it's a flat disc-shaped bead with 2 holes, one on the right and one on the left. You can see I'm going to put 1 needle on the right-hand side and 1 needle through the left-hand side of the bead. Let that drop down on my thread and drop back next to my button. And that's going to be your button end. Separating out your needles and keeping the right to the right and the left to the left, we're going to start with our diamond duos. The diamond duos are going to start that in between each bead that we add an 11-0 seed bead. So we're adding an 11-0 seed bead. And then I'm going to start by separating my needles basically. One diamond duo is going to go on the left hand or on the right hand side here through the inner hole there, that left hole, as you're looking at the diamond duo and the facet is facing up. On the left needle, we're going to put another diamond duo with the facets facing up but going through the right hole. Put an 11-0 then on each needle again. Hold the needles together and put on another diamond duo. So this would be your third diamond duo that both needles are going to go through this diamond duo, one through the left hole and one through the right hole. Again, separate your needles now. 11-0 on either needle, because this whole time an 11-0 is going to go before each bead that you add. Separate your needles again and put on another diamond duo. This is your fourth diamond duo on the right hand needle going through the left hand side, on the left hand needle going through the right hand hole. Let that all drop down next to your cup button. Then we'll get a chance to look at it and see what's going on here. So you're getting kind of that Xing effect, that you have the 5 diamond duos on, starting out with the diamond duos on the left and right, and then bringing together left and right again. That's going to be the continuous pattern for the diamond duos that we do the whole length of the bracelet. After that, we're going to go in and add our disc duos. The disc duos are going to be done in the same fashion with every other bead, going 1 needle separated and then 1 together basically. Putting an 11-0 on each needle. Because my last 2 I kept separate, I know that my disc duo I'm going to have combined. So the needles, we're going to go through both holes of my first disc duo. After that first disc duo, separate out, add an 11-0 on each needle, a disc duo, and because a disc duo doesn't have a side like the diamond duo, you don't have to worry, through either hole on the left needle and on the right needle, and then you're going to put the seed bead on either side as well. Let that all drop down next to your diamond duos that are already in place. And you can see that puts 3 of those disc duos on. We're going to put 1 more on to complete our disc duo. And the final disc duo that we put on, we're going to put on again together, that you're going through both holes at the same time. 1 needle is going through the right hand side, 1 is going through the left, and let that drop down next to your project. As you can see then, you're going to do a pattern of using 5 diamond duos and then 4 disc duos. To start out the pattern again, simply put an 11-0 on each needle. Because you have 2 needles going through that bead at the same time, you know it's time to switch and have 1 on each side. Again, make sure as you add your second collection of diamond duos here, your second group of 5, you want to make sure that they're all facing up the same direction as the previous one, so that little bump or facet look faces up. A diamond duo goes on the right and left needle, separated by an 11-0. Put the needles together and put on a diamond duo where you're going through both holes. Separate those needles, put on 11-0 on each. 11-0s again always go between every bead. Separating out the needles again, one diamond duo goes on the right needle through the left hole and the left needle through the right hole. Grab an 11-0 on each needle and let that all fall down next to your cup button. That gives you your second grouping here of 5 beads of the disc duos, and we'll get ready to add the disc duos as well. So we've got our diamond duos on, disc duos are going to continue to go on. We're going to keep adding this pattern, so you're doing repetitive here. You're adding the pattern again of 5, 4, 5, 4, continuing the whole length of your bracelet. As you finish up your design, you're going to finish with either the last section of disc duos or a last section of the diamond duos. For my wrist length here, I have my 5 groupings of my diamond duos with the 4 groupings of the actual disc duos in between. If you have a wrist that's a little bit longer, you can always start too with just one diamond duo and then start in your disc duo, so you can change it around a little bit depending on how long you need it to be. And I have mine basically so it's touching right when it's finished. And I'm finishing the design with the disc duo, just like I started. So I started with just a disc duo and then right into the diamond duos. At the end here, I'm ending with the disc duo and then right into the diamond duos. At the end, you have your needle on the right and the needle on the left. The needle on the right here, what I'm going to do is make a loop basically out of the 11-0 seed beads. So you're going to add a bunch of the 11-0 seed beads, about 25 of them approximately. If you're using a regular beaded clasp, you're going to go ahead and actually put on a wire protector and put your beaded clasp on, or your metal clasp on here as well. You want to make sure if you're using a bead or a button that the loop is big enough for the button to fit through, but not too big that it's going to fall off. Once I have enough beads on there, I'm going to take my needle and go back down the disc duo the opposite side. So I'm going down the left-hand side here with that right needle. On the left side then, I'm going to pick up the needle, poking here at my bead mat, and I'm going to basically reinforce that loop. Take the left-hand needle, go back through all of those 11-0 seed beads that we just put on with the right needle. You'll see some thread exposed while you're doing this. Don't worry about that because we are going to tighten it all up. So I'm just sewing back through, reinforcing that loop, because that's where a lot of tension is going to be as you're wearing your bracelet. At the same time, I'm going to go through that disc duo and come out after it. This is my opportunity now that I have that loop made to pull both sides here and really get rid of any extra thread that you may see exposed in the middle of the bracelet. To continue the design, we're going to go in and actually add our disc duos, basically where you see the diamond duos in between the X coming down the left-hand side, and then on the sides of the disc duos, we get to add another diamond duo. So we're going to go straight down the line here, filling in, making sure they fit in the same spaces here, adding a disc duo on the outside of the X of the diamond duos, and then diamond duos right above the disc duos. So I'm going to do the same thing with the right needle as I do with the left needle rather, that I do with the right needle. To start and to get to that outer row of the diamond duo, I am going to add 4 of my 11-0 seed beads and then go through the second hole of that diamond duo. Once you're out the diamond duo, 11-0 seed bead. Then we're going to add our disc duo through either hole and then 11-0 seed bead. Sew through the outer hole of the next diamond duo. Now that I'm to the side of the disc duo, I'm going to add the diamond duo. 11-0 seed bead, because it always goes between it. And when I add the diamond duo, you want to make sure that the diamond duo is facing the correct direction. So if you need to, you can lay it down on your bead mat, kind of in the correct setup way, and then string it that direction. An 11-0 after the diamond duo, and down the next disc duo. The disc duo obviously is going to take up a little bit more space than the diamond duo, so that's going to kind of puff out to the side, which is going to force that diamond effect that would go in for this queen's diamond. After the disc duo, again, when you're on the side of the disc duo, on goes another diamond duo with 11-0 seed beads on either side. Continue on then down through the project with going through the next diamond duo. I'll lay this out here so you can see the effect, and you're starting to get that diamonding effect. In between each then of the diamond duos, on goes a disc duo, and in between the disc duo and the diamond duo is where you're going to put another diamond duo. We're going to do this both down the right hand side and down the left hand side of the project, adding in more of the disc duos and the diamond duos to get our diamonding effect. So as you finish coming down the right hand and the left hand side here, I'll show you what the bracelet is starting to look like. You can see that the diamonds are kind of pushed in a little bit more so above the disc duo, and then the disc duo separates the diamonds out a little bit. It's because of the size difference, but we're doing a pattern so it doesn't affect it. One thing that I want to make sure is that you do give a nice tight pull on the right needle, or on the right thread, and on the left thread to even out that thread so you don't see any extra thread exposed. As you get to the end, on my length here for that 6 3/4 inch bracelet, I'm ending on my diamond duo, or coming out the final diamond duo here. What I'm going to do is repeat what I did on the opposite side, which is add 4 of my 11-0 seed beads on my right needle, and then I'm going to go up through the last disc duo, through the 3 seed beads, out the top of the cup button, and if I can at the same time go through the 11-0 seed bead that's right along the top. Give a nice tight yank and pull. Take that needle then through the last 2 remaining 11-0s on the top of the cup button, down the side of the cup button, and then just let that needle hang out there right after the 11-0 seed beads. On the left hand side, I'm going to repeat what we just did, adding 4 more 11-0 seed beads. Go into the disc duo, up through the 3 11-0s, out the top of the cup button and the first seed bead if you can, down through the next 2 seed beads on the top of the button, and down through the button and out the 11-0 seed beads. Again, give a nice tight yank after each of these. And that's going to get us ready and set up to come down the sides now and do our final row, which is going to grab on to all of our second holes of the diamond duos and the round or the disc duos that we just added. To get to that point, we're going to come down the disc duo. So I have my what is now my right hand needle in the hand. I'm going to go down the disc duo on the right hand side. Popping out the side, then I'm going to go through those 4 11-0 seed beads that we just added and bring my needle out. After I'm through those 4 11-0 seed beads, I'm going to add 5 11-0 seed beads on my needle and go through my disc duo. And that's just going to pop them right there out on the side. With my left needle now doing the same thing, I'm going to go again through the disc duo, right below where the thread is coming out, so that's going to be through that left hand hole of the disc duo. Bring my needle out there, go out through the 4 11-0 seed beads that I put on the left hand side, add 5 more 11-0 seed beads, and then out through the disc duo. And that decorates the side right there. When I'm out the end then, I'm going to kind of push all my diamond duos out to the side and all my beads out to the side. I'm coming out right along the edge of the project. Along the edge of the project, I'm going to be using 11/0s to kind of fill in the gaps between the disc duos and the diamond duos. In between the two sets of diamond duos are where we're going to pick up that strand of crystals, or your 8/0 seed bead, or you can even use your 6/0 seed bead, or you can even use an 11/0 seed bead, or you can just do the whole thing with your actual 11/0 seed beads that you have on your mat. But what we're going to do is separate out between the disc duo and the diamond duo. I want 5 seed beads on my needle. So I'm going to put 5 seed beads on. And then I'm going to sew through the diamond duo. Coming out the diamond duo then, on goes an 11/0, my crystal, and an 11/0, and through the next diamond duo. That's going to pull the diamond duos even more in on an angle towards one another, and those 5 seed beads are going to kind of sit separating out the diamond duos. Again, 5 seed beads go on and through the next disc duo. Give a nice tight pull, and that should make it line up evenly right along the side. Again, coming out a disc duo, 5 11/0s go on, sew through the diamond duo. When I'm coming out the diamond duo, I want to put on 11, one of my 11s, a crystal, and another 11, and sew through the next diamond duo. So you can see the pattern now of the crystals along the sides with those diamond duos, and that's how you get that effect of that queen of diamonds to make that kind of look completed with that same color on the outer edge. I'm going to flip over now and do the same thing on the left hand side for a couple rows, then go back to the right and the left and the right, doing the exact same thing, adding on my 5 seed beads and then sewing through the diamond duo. When you're coming out the diamond duo, that's when you do a seed bead, a crystal for a little bling, and a seed bead, and then sew through the next diamond duo. If you wanted to, you could use an actual diamond duo on the edge here and make it have a point. I'm just choosing to use the crystals. Again, 5 seed beads go on and through the disc duo. So I'm just going to continue on with this pattern, adding in my 5 seed beads right along the outer edge, then the seed bead and the crystal and the seed bead when I'm in between my diamond duos. As you're coming out the last disc duo, you get an opportunity to finish off the bracelet. To finish it off, we're just going to use 5 11/0 seed beads, just like we did on the starter side. Go through the 11/0 seed beads there, next to the diamond duo, and through the disc duo then at the same time. I'm going to use this opportunity with the right hand needle to reinforce that loop one more time. So you'll end up having 3 threads through that loop. Sewing down then to the other side. I'm going to go down the disc duo, coming out on the left hand side. Sew then through the 4 11/0 seed beads right along the edge. And from there, we're going to add 5 11/0 seed beads. And we're going to tie the 2 thread ends together. So you're at the point now where your thread ends match. I'm going to make sure that my thread ends are not, or my knots are not catching any of the beads. Do a nice tight pull, and that's going to do the ending of your bracelet here. If you want to, you can sew those thread ends, since we have plenty of thread, back through. You can also go back along the edge and decorate the outer edge of the project if you want to put 4 seed beads right along the top of the disc duos, and then another crystal sitting on top. That's kind of up to you, and a little challenge if you want it to be a little bit more blingy and a little bit more rounded at the edges. And after I have, excuse me, a number of knots here, I'll take one of my threads and my needles and sew through the disc duo right there at the edge. Give a nice little pull. That'll pull that knot into the disc duo just the tiniest of bit. Then grab your thread burner, press down on the edge, leave yourself just a tiny little bit of thread on each end here. Heat that thread burner up again. You're going to create a balling effect by flattening out basically that thread, which is also going to create a stop. That way the knot cannot come apart. And that finishes it off. If you want to use some super new glue, you could use that as well. One other idea for those of you that like a blingy bracelet is you can also come down the project and add a crystal in right in the middle here. So you can really kind of go to town with this nice simplistic effect that you could add a crystal in and sitting on top right in the middle of those disc duos. So you can see the difference here of the round trio versus the disc duo, them both being a 6mm bead. It can give you that fun effect. You could also try it out with a candy bead. You're going to need to change your spacing a little bit, or a 2-hole cab as well, which is going to give you a similar effect to the round trio. This Queen's diamond bracelet then is a nice almost cuff style bracelet because it is rather thick. You have that nice button, which makes it easy to put on. And it has that nice look to it of just that nice flat wide band. And like I said, you really could change the design and the look. The brighter diamond duos you do, the more it will really pop. You can also change up some of the seed beads if you don't have some diamond duos, which I would recommend because they're really fun to play with. You can change it up to some rulas or some super duos. A lot of beads are interchangeable, so don't feel like you have to get every single bead. You can interchange and mix and match the same pattern with some different beads as well. If you get a chance to get your hands on some of the diamond duos, disc duos, or the round trios, you can have fun playing around with them. The round trios I did, just for those of you noting, skip the center hole. So we're just using the outer 2 edge holes as you're working with the round trio to get that same effect of this Queen's diamond here. So the diamond duos, again, if you need any of those, the disc duos, that little drop down menu on the left hand side at the very front of the video, or you can go underneath to little detailed descriptions of the video, press the show more button and get links to all of the things that were used in the video there as well. You can also subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. You like regular updates on new products that we carry, new designs, new ideas, new things kind of coming out. You can definitely subscribe to this channel, share it with a friend, link a friend to it as well. You can also join us on our website, potomacbeads.com, as well as interact with us on Facebook, in our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making, as well as our Potomac Bead Company Facebook. Post some Instagram pictures there and everything to kind of let you know what we are up to, the new products that we have, and the awesome new designs that everybody is creating with some of our beads and creations as well. As always, everyone, have fun making this Queen's diamond bracelet and enjoy, and thanks so much for watching.